Steven Crowder has been completely demonetized. This is the second time this has happened. He also is suspended from YouTube for a week. The reason? He did investigative journalism showing voter fraud had occurred in Nevada. This relates to a larger problem with YouTube politics, a problem that I call the Voshification of content. Let's say you want to open up an electronics business in a small town. The town is so small that it has just one major road. This is the beginning of the town, this is the end. Where in town should you open your business? Well, an economist would tell you to open it here, right in the middle. This is the optimal point. That's because no one has to travel more than half the length of the town to get to you. Now let's say you open up your store. Now someone wants to open up a rival electronics store. Well, the optimal location for them is right next to your store. It's optimal for the exact same reason. Chances are you've noticed this phenomenon in real life. Two competitors running the exact same type of business right next to each other. It's not irrational for competing stores to do this. It actually makes sense. So in the context of YouTube, you'd expect the most popular political content to be centrist. Perhaps if YouTube didn't censor and manipulate its content, that would be true. If we had a true and fair algorithm, centrist content would probably be the most popular. Having spent way too much time on YouTube, though, I believe I've identified the true center, or at least the center that YouTube wants to be the center, the place it incentivizes it to be so. From this perspective, the electronics store in YouTube's center is Destiny. The electronics store which opened right next door to him is Vosh. Before we go on, let me recap my last video on the cathedral. I said it originated from a consensus that was reached by the Mont Pelerin Society. There were two sides to this consensus. On the one side, you had economists Milton Friedman and Friedrich Hayek. On the other, you had philosopher Karl Popper. The Mont Pelerin organization agreed that society needed to be organized in a way that was anti-fascist. Now that's the term they use. I don't think they really understood what fascism meant. Most people use the term fascism incorrectly. I thought about doing a video on this, but I don't know. In the clown world trenches of the modern culture war, does anyone really want to watch a video on the technical definition of fascism? To them, fascism meant right-wing authoritarianism. They wanted to prevent another Hitler. Of course, there's been numerous right-wing authoritarian governments both before and after Hitler. The fact that none of them have done any of the things that Hitler did is apparently a level of nuance that these people weren't just capable of processing. Their solution was open society, open borders, open sexuality, gay and transgender people are heroes, pornography is great, families, religion, patriotism, those things are bad. Where they failed to reach a consensus was economics. Friedman and Hayek favored libertarian economics. Karl Popper, on the other hand, was a socialist. The views of the former became the basis for neoliberalism, while the views of Popper have been very influential in what Mencius Moldbug describes as the cathedral. I also pointed out in that video that I don't believe the Mont Pelerin Society secretly runs everything. Instead, people in elite circles perpetuate these same ideas over and over again. For example, Ayn Rand, or is it Ayn Rand? Who cares? The radically pro-abortion, pro-globalist libertarian who was elevated by the elite neoliberals. Even after her death, people like Paul Ryan required his staff to read her books. George Soros named his organization the Open Society after Karl Popper's book. Let's say you looked up what Milton Friedman's political views were. Actually, you can. They put it on his Wikipedia page. You'd find out he shares a lot of the same political beliefs with Destiny. Pro-immigration, in favor of gay rights, wants to legalize all drugs, promotes globalism and capitalism. If you read Karl Popper's book, you'd find a lot of commonalities with Vosh. Popper was pro-Marxist and open to the prospect of socialism. At the same time, he was skeptical of Soviet-style communism. He believed socialism should go hand in hand with liberal democracy. He also believed Marx focused too much on class and not enough on things like race or sexuality. Now, I'm not trying to equate Vosh and Destiny to Popper and Friedman. They're accomplished writers known for their work in philosophy and economics. Their political views aren't what people remember them for. Perhaps that's by design. It's hard for me to imagine Vosh reading, much less writing a book. I'll say this though, these two creators express political views most in line with the establishment elite in this country, so it isn't surprising at all that the tech companies have engineered them to be at the center. Now you might say that Steven Crowder has so many more subscribers though. Sure, Crowder's been around much longer. He was on Fox News at some point. He has a show that has a lot of production value put into it. He's got a full-on recording studio. He's got multiple people doing the show with him. He does skits and music videos. What Steven Crowder doesn't do is he doesn't play video games by himself for 5 hours while talking about cow poop level drama. If you want to be a YouTuber, it's real hard to be like Steven Crowder. It's not hard at all to be like Stephen Bunnell. Who wants to work hard putting together a complicated show when you can have YouTube's algorithm just funnel people to you with no effort? It reminds me of the game Disco Elysium. The concept of the game is you're an alcoholic police officer. You went on such an over-the-top bender, your brain is damaged and you've lost all memory. You have to BS your way out of this situation. At the same time, the game lets you role-play your political beliefs. If you're a hardcore libertarian, it's like playing the game on easy mode. Rich people will just throw money at you. That's exactly how YouTube politics works. So what do I mean when I say Voshification? Well, I could just as easily say Destinification. Let's admit it though, that's not a fun word to say. YouTube's rigged the algorithm so that everything becomes like Destiny and Vosh. That's because in order to grow, get more money, get more subscribers, you're best off being as close to them as possible. It's the electronics store phenomena. You want to be as close to the center of town as possible, and Destiny and Vosh are who YouTube put at the center. For example, my channel, I could just do Vosh and Destiny response videos solely. They'd get more views than any other political subject matter. They'd get more views than if I made a response video to Tim Pool or some communist channel. If I really wanted to grow this channel, all I do is make content about Vosh or Destiny. Therefore, it's not surprising that Vosh and Destiny are the most frequently debated and responded to videos by the right. Of course, an even better strategy would be simply to become like Vosh or Destiny. That's what almost every anti-social justice YouTuber has done at this point. Shoe on Head, Amazing Atheist, Chris Reagan, they're all intersexual libertarian socialists because that's what YouTube incentivizes creators to be. There used to be this concept pushed by the media of the all-right pipeline. Also, some mouth-breathing morons have also called it the Pewdie pipeline. The idea is YouTube's algorithm makes you more extreme over time. You start out as a conservative and you end up a white nationalist. The reality is YouTube actually makes everything into Destiny or Vosh. Meanwhile, right-wing YouTube has just been slowly purged over time. First was Alex Jones, then white nationalist channels. Next they banned the white identity politics, then they came for paleocons. Finally, people who maybe could be described as alt-light like Stefan Molyneux got banned. Steven Crowder is clearly next in line. Right now YouTube is basically going through the motions to ban his channel, the most popular conservative channel. Also, most undoubtedly a mainstream conservative. There isn't anything controversial or extreme about Crowder. He's not a white nationalist, he's not anti-Semitic. He's had people like Dan Crenshaw and Ted Cruz on his show. If channels like Steven Crowder and also my own channel are now in the crosshairs, what's going to be left? Already much of the right has been banned. It's not like there's a lot of new channels on the rise either. This is a consequence of it being nearly impossible for right-wing channels to grow or monetize. This is the other problem with Voshification. It leads to terrible content. I actually enjoy watching Vosh and Destiny debate right-wingers. I've at least got someone I can root for. When the right is gone though, what's left? Well, you get what I call the unholy trinity of terrible YouTube content. These days, about a third of Destiny or Vosh's content is them complaining about people trying to cancel them. Another third is them trying to argue that some other leftist needs to be canceled. The final third is them mocking people on the right or center for believing in cancel culture. This sort of culture may look familiar to you. If you're thinking that's the culture of high school girls, yeah, you're correct. Late stage YouTube politics is nothing but mean girls, but with ugly man children instead of Lindsay Lohan. As Tucker Carlson would say, that ought to terrify you. So what can you do? If you're a viewer, try to avoid the drama content. Anything where the subject matter is whether someone should be canceled or dubbed a racist should be avoided. You'll only become dumber watching this stuff. If you're a creator, it's a double-edged sword. Destiny effectively created a business model people can copy and use to make money off political streaming. As long as your politics are similar to his, you can capitalize off it. Just a warning to anyone on the right though. You become what you do. If you're going to grift as some left-winger, you're going to start believing the things you're saying. If you're committed to being on the right, responding to Vosh or Destiny is still tempting. It can get you some extra views and subscribers. I think if you're a successful channel, you should probably just ignore these left-wingers. Their success is AstroTurf, and you don't need to give them any more attention. If you're a small channel though, like mine, it's hard for me to fault you for engaging in content that is algorithmically promoted. You have to grow somehow. Just try not to focus too much on it and avoid the cancel culture stuff. Anyways, while it feels like I'm fighting a losing battle, you can still support independent YouTube content by supporting a small channel like mine by subscribing. Thanks.